Hello các bạn. Mời các bạn chuẩn bị nghe tin tức trong ngày nha.
It would mean that I would have to talk to people, yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah. And if I want to do that, I'd go to the dog park.
Đang trên đường chuẩn bị đi chơi.
I don't go to the dog park because of that.
No.
Swipe your members card at the Roost Club for free.
And the sort of collective response from politicians is, well, it's too hard. We can't really do anything about it. It's human nature for people to want to protect their own turf. And that's sort of the end of the story. And so, to me, it's sort of no wonder that voters are starting to get more and more frustrated with the way politics works, because there's these seemingly intractable problems that everyone agrees is a problem, but nothing's done about it.
And nothing's done about it, yeah, as you say, leading to this impasse. Now, stepping away from gerrymandering for a minute, Casey Briggs, you've also been investigating this, and this is really interesting, how generative artificial intelligence is also playing a role in the election. Tell us about that. How much of an impact has that already had?
Yeah, so I think we're seeing little experiments in generative artificial intelligence in campaigning, but this story that we're telling today came out of a conversation I was having with a political consultant in California, and I basically just asked her, where does this sort of thing go next? Where does the data targeting and how do you what's the evolution in campaigning? And she said, well, we do lots of targeting of mail out material and things like that, and the next step is we'll use more data, and the next set of data we're going to get is things like dog registration, cat registration information, all sorts of information about the households that candidates are campaigning to in their electorates. And what could you do with dog registration? Well, you'd know something about the preferred breed of dog of that family, so why don't you include that dog in campaign materials? Why don't we get our candidates to stand there and maybe hold out an empty hand or hold out an arm, or be standing there, and we can generatively create artificial intelligence dogs to use as campaign materials. And I thought that was a really interesting example of how you could use AI. Now, maybe you'd say in a relatively harmless way, but it shows how quickly that politicians, political candidates are thinking about this sort of technology and what could be done next, because American campaigners have all sorts of data. They know how people voted, they know the demographics of households they're mailing to and they're knocking on the doors of, they know what issues they care about, and you can absolutely see a world not too far in the distant future where they're using AI tools to really create customized and personalized messaging that's direct to a single individual person rather than to the mass media television ads, and that would change the world of campaigning very fundamentally if that is the case, and we do start to see that.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it, Casey? Thank you as always for joining us. Appreciate your time. That's the ABC's US election analyst Casey Briggs there. The series is called America, Are You OK? Episode 3 is up there now. It's on ABC iView. Highly encourage you to check it out. In fact, if you haven't yet so far, check out all 3. He's taken us so far to Alabama, one of the most Republican parts of the country, to Georgia as well last week. Today, gerrymandering, as he said, heading to Florida, investigating that key question. Is gerrymandering rotting America's faith in politics? And as Casey just told us, well, even if it is, doesn't seem as though anyone's doing anything about it. America, Are You OK? It's up there now. This is ABC News Radio. Almost time for 5 minutes of news. After that, more on this breaking news out of the Middle East overnight. If you've just joined us, the death of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, very much seen by Israel as the mastermind of the militant group's October 7 attack on Israel. Killed in an IDF attack in Gaza, I should say, an accidental IDF attack. They didn't know that he was in this house that was shelled at the time, and it just happened by chance. We'll have more on that coming up after the news. Going to be speaking with Mohammed Al-Bashar, Middle East security analyst based in Washington, D.C. That's coming up shortly. The Australian dollar 66.9 US cents. SPY 200 futures are down about 1/3% to start the day. The Dow Jones has closed 1/3% higher, sitting at 43,239 at the close on Wall Street about an hour ago. To the weather in Brisbane, a late shower in 29, 22 now, rain in Sydney in 26, currently 18. For Canberra, rain in 21, 15 now, and some rain in Melbourne. A possible storm in 24, currently 19. That rain's easing in Hobart, 18 for you today, 13 at the moment. In Adelaide, showers in 20, currently 16. Cloudy in Perth and 23 in the west, 16 now. For Darwin, partly cloudy in the top end and 34. It's 26 at the moment. Time for 5 minutes of news. Eastern Daylight Time, 8 o'clock, 7:30 in South Australia, 7 in Queensland. It's 6:30 in the Northern Territory, 5 o'clock in the West. ABC News. Good morning, I'm Simon Lauder. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar has justified the ongoing war in Gaza. Hamas has not commented, as Middle East correspondent Matthew Doran reports.
62-year-old Yahya Sinwar was killed after an Israeli tank struck a building in southern Gaza on Thursday. Israeli media is reporting troops didn't have intelligence Sinwar would be in that building when they attacked. Pictures of his body lying amongst rubble were quickly circulated online before dental, fingerprint and DNA checks confirmed his identity. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the country within an hour of the news coming through, welcoming Sinwar's death but insisting Israel still needed to bring hostages home, those taken by Hamas on October 7, before its mission was complete. Matthew Doran, ABC News, Jerusalem.
The Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers says he hopes Yahya Sinwar's death brings an end to conflict in the Middle East. Shadow Foreign Minister Simon Birmingham has released a statement saying an ugly flame of viscous terrorism has been extinguished. Senator Birmingham has called on Hamas to use the moment to release all Israeli hostages and surrender. UN agencies and experts on food security have warned Gaza remains at risk of famine and is experiencing emergency levels of hunger more than a year into the Israel-Gaza war. The Integrated Food Security Phase classification says more than 1.8 million people across the Palestinian territory are living through high levels of acute food insecurity. This includes more than 130,000 people experiencing the most severe or catastrophic levels. The UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk has described the findings as beyond terrifying.
They show that the number of people at catastrophic levels of hunger is expected to double in the coming months, and the risk of famine persists across the whole of Gaza. The world cannot let this happen.
A new report from the US Congress suggests Australia could dump plans to acquire nuclear-powered submarines and instead spend billions on other military capabilities. Here's Defence correspondent Andrew Green.
The study prepared by the Congressional Research Service argues Australia should abandon its $368 billion AUKUS submarine endeavour, outlining an alternative plan where US boats would instead serve both nations. The report claims no alternatives were ever explored before Australia decided to purchase second-hand Virginia-class boats and then build a new SSN AUKUS fleet. It suggests the money would be better spent on long-range strike aircraft and missiles to be used collectively by the United States and Australia.
The Federal Greens say new analysis shows changes to negative gearing and the capital gains tax discount could help hundreds of thousands of renters. The party commissioned research by the Parliamentary Library, which shows Labor's 2019 election policy could see nearly 300,000 extra homes owned by owner-occupiers instead of property investors. The government says it has no plan to change negative gearing. The Greens housing spokesman Max Chandler-Mather says he wants to work with Labor.
We accept we're not going to get everything that we want. But what this analysis shows is that even with modest changes to negative gearing and the capital gains tax discount, we could transform the lives of over 770,000 renters by finally giving them a chance to buy a home.
Wild weather is expected in parts of Victoria and New South Wales today. Costa Haratos reports from Victoria.
The Weather Bureau says winds of up to 90 kilometres an hour are expected to lash parts of the state, including the outer northern suburbs of Melbourne. Senior forecaster Angus Hines says this is likely to happen from mid-morning to around midday.
There's a pretty broad region where standard thunderstorms or severe thunderstorms are possible, and that stretches right down to Melbourne, right down to the south coast of Victoria.
The conditions are caused by a deep low pressure system that will cross southern Victoria and the Bass Strait today. The State Emergency Service is advising people to avoid travel if possible where conditions are dangerous and to secure loose outdoor items.
Members of pop group One Direction have released a joint statement on the death of their bandmate Liam Payne, saying they're completely devastated and will miss him terribly. Payne died this week after falling from the third floor of a hotel in Argentina. Harry Styles, Niall Horan, Zayn Malik and Louis Tomlinson say that in time there will be more to say, but for now they'll take some time to grieve and process the loss of their brother who they loved dearly. You're up to date with the very latest ABC News.
Simon Lauder, thank you very much. It's Friday the 18th of October.
You're listening to ABC News Radio.
October is what I meant. Thomas Arisi with you. Breaking news out of the Middle East overnight.
GoPro, start recording.